Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us tonight. This is our one of our events that we've been doing throughout the summer for our Know Your Rights tenant education series. And first, just want to say a big thank you to everybody. I know it's been a really difficult time the last couple of years with the pandemic, so we really appreciate everybody, being here. I'm sure getting things like repairs made during the pandemic is only that much harder. So we really appreciate our attorneys and our partners being here tonight to help us out, and we really appreciate the community being here as well. So thank you all. So this is the third event in our tenants education series of Fight for Your Rights. Tonight we'll be covering getting repairs made. If you didn't catch our earlier webinars, you can catch them the entirety on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. So some of you might be coming to us from just hearing about us recently on social media. Some of you may have been a longtime fan of Brooklyn A, but we'll give you a little bit of background about who we are. Next slide, please. Go to the Brooklyn A, we were founded in 1968 in Williamsburg, Brownsville, and East New York. We use high quality, low barrier, neighborhood-based legal and advocacy tools to disrupt cycles of economic and racial injustice. We represent low and moderate income individuals and families throughout New York City, not just in Brooklyn. And our clients live in rapidly gentrifying neighborhoods where many residents and small business owners face displacement, and they face issues like illegal landlord harassment. Last year, we served close to 13,000 residential tenants, homeowners, taxpayers, and small business owners throughout our 3 program areas. And as you can see here, these some details about our 3 programs. First being the Consumer and Economic Advocacy Program. This is our work with homeowners dealing with problems like deed theft, predatory lending, and foreclosure prevention. This program also handles our low-income taxpayer clinic, which is available to all low-income New Yorkers who may have tax issues. We have a lot of events for that program throughout the year. We have our Community and Economic Development Program, which works with small businesses and nonprofit organizations, doing work like commercial lease assistance and helping in rent negotiations, along with other community building work. And then our third program is our Preserving Affordable Housing Program, which is what tonight's event falls under. And this primarily works with tenants, renters in the city, dealing with issues like facing eviction, dealing with landlord harassment, and fair housing, if you need help with fair housing claims, repairs, or other such services. So if anyone attending tonight or anyone is dealing with problems that any of our programs deal with, please don't hesitate to reach out to Brooklyn A. We are reachable at our phone number and email that's listed at the bottom of this info sheet here. And you can also visit us in the office Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have a lot of Spanish speakers in the office, so absolutely anyone who needs help, we're ready to take on whatever problems you might be having. Next slide, please. We want to say a big thank you to our sponsor for tonight, Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez. She unfortunately couldn't make it tonight due to a conflict, but she's been a fantastic partner for us in previous events and with a lot of the work that we do. So we just want to acknowledge and thank her for being a great partner and sponsor. And we also, next slide, please. Yes. We also want to thank the St. Nick's Alliance, another great partner of ours who are joining us tonight. St. Nick's does a ton of great work, and I'll leave it to Denise from St. Nick's to explain a little bit more about who they are. And our speakers tonight are Denise Merriman, who's a community organizer at the St. Nick's Alliance. And she'll kick us off, and then we'll have our own Isis Igoreva, who is a staff attorney in the Preserving Affordable Housing Unit. And we'll also have Stefanos Moutafidis, who is a staff attorney in the Preserving Affordable Housing Unit as well. And our agenda for tonight, the three of them will be walking us through the early steps to getting repairs made, then to going more detail about the forms and procedures that you'll have to go through if you're going to take further steps and you're having a lot of issues with your landlord, and then how and when you should go to court. And then once that is all done, we'll have a question and answer section. So when we get to that point, people who have questions, you can either type your question into the chat right here on the Zoom, or you should see on your screen, there's an option to like raise your hand. And if you want to ask your question verbally, just raise your hand and we can unmute you so you can ask your question. And that'll be at the end for question and answer. And so we're all set, and we'll get started with Denise from St. Nick's.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. So before I start with my presentation, I'm going to give a little summary of what St. Nick's does. So St. Nick's is a nonprofit organization that seeks to transform the lives of low and moderate income people through an employment, education, housing, and healthcare. We do this by delivering impactful services with measurable outcomes to children, adults, and the elderly. As a civic anchor, we carry out this mission with the context of building a sustainable community for all through the arts, environmental advocacy, and urban planning. And my department does specifically tenant advocacy, and I'll go over the first steps to getting some repairs made. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. The first step that we always tell tenants to do is to write a letter to your landlord. This can be just a normal letter. You can get it certified mailed so that you know that your landlord got it. The second step is if your landlord fails to correct any type of fails to correct any repairs that you need, you should go ahead and call 311. The reason behind calling 311 is to ensure that there is documentation with housing preservation and development. This process takes some time because tenants often feel that by calling 311, everything will get repaired and fixed. That is not the issue. HPD comes with the intentions of investigating the complaint. Then the inspector will see whatever complaint you have filed with them. They will either put a violation classified into A, B, and C. If the violation is immediately dangerous or especially hazardous, if we would say in simpler terms, HPD may repair it and bill the owner in these circumstances, or you have the option of going to court and starting HP processes or even getting a 7A. These processes will be described more into detail further into the presentation. Next slide, please. And the third thing that we always tell tenants, besides notifying the landlord and calling 311, is that you should always take pictures. Please write down in a journal, if you have one, date and time, specifically if it's also in relation to heat and hot water. It's always important to write down the time and the date when you see the lack of heat or the lack of water. Pictures is always great. That's your personal records of what has been happening day to day. And this can come into use when you go into future court proceedings. Next page, next slide, please. Thank you. Another tool that tenants have at hand without going to court is asking, let's say St. Nick's, we have housing counselors who can do this for you. There's two applications. One of them is a rent reduction due to decrease in services. That can be apartment or building wide, or you can do a failure to provide heat and hot water complaint. The housing counselors in my department can do this for you for free. Thankfully, these applications have been moved online, which makes it a bit faster to submit these applications. After submitting these applications, you'll get a letter in the mail stating your docket number, confirming that DHCR has received your application. Shortly after you receive this letter, you'll also get notified when an inspector from DHCR will be coming to your apartment to assess the complaints that you have notified with them. If this inspector does see that these complaints are there at time of inspection, normally tenants will receive a rent abatement for any type of complaints that were verified with this inspector. And then I'll pass it over to Stefano to continue this presentation.
So I think I'd take over from Stefanos if it's forms and procedures. You can go to the next slide. So my name is Izes Egareva. I've been a staff attorney for Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A for about 2 years now. My firm, we represent low income to moderate income tenants with representation. That may range from either non-payment proceedings, holdover proceedings, in this instance, clients that need HP repairs, and we also provide brief advice to anybody that needs any advice regarding their housing matter. So now I'll talk about forms and procedures regarding HP repairs. You go to the next slide. So I know a lot of people might wonder, I made complaints to my landlord regarding HP repairs. I've called 311, nothing seems to change, nothing seems to go on. So the next step is an HP action. So people might wonder, where exactly would I file this HP action? Well, you file the HP action in the borough where your apartment resides. If you're in the Bronx, you file it in the Bronx. If you're in Manhattan, you file it in Manhattan. Queens, you file it in Queens. In our instance, we do Brooklyn. So the HP actions are filed in Brooklyn. Kings County, which is located at 141 Livingston Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11201. If anybody's having trouble finding this courthouse, I believe the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5 train also go there. The A, C, D, F, G, R train also go there. And I believe also the B45 bus, just in case anybody's having trouble. When you do come to the courthouse, make sure you bring the name and address of the landlord and managing agent. People might have trouble finding the proper owner of the premises or the managing agent. Check your receipts, your rent receipts. Maybe it might have the name. If not, I'll also go to the nyc.gov website, which I provided in the PowerPoint slide. Check under the property owner registration information. This has the owner and the managing agent's information. If you don't also have trouble with internet connection, you can always come to the clerk's office. The clerk will assist you in doing the search for you online. Next slide. Filling out paperwork. So the types of forms, the clerk will give you 2 types of forms to fill out, called the order to show cause directing the correction of violations, and a verified petition in support of or order to show cause directing the correction of violations. When you get these forms on the order to show cause form, make sure you list all of the conditions. This might range from extermination, garbage removal, mold, no heating, no water. Just make sure you list everything. In some instances, tenants may request an inspection for an inspector to come in and assess the repairs that need to be done. Make sure you fill out a tenant's request for inspection. And when you do fill out this form, make sure you include everything that you want repaired, because the inspector is only going to review the stuff that are listed. Next slide. In cases of emergency where you need emergency repairs, you might not be able to get an inspector prior to your hearing date, but that's completely fine. You must submit your signed and completed forms to the HP clerk at the housing court, along with payments of court fees. They accept cash, certified check, money orders, bank check, but personal checks will not be accepted. In some instances, tenants might be too poor. They might not have money to pay the fees. In these instances, there's a poor person relief form. Make sure you ask the clerk about this so you can get your forms waived. Usually this form asks your income, value of your property, list the reasons why you're unable to pay the expenses. If anybody else that might benefit from these repairs, or maybe they might be able to pay the repair costs. So they ask questions like that. But if you are bringing a HP action for repairs, there's only one filing fee. If it's just one person, it's one filing fee. Also, if it's a group that's bringing repair HP actions, it's still one filing fee. But if they want to apply for per person relief, everybody that's filing as a group must each meet the criteria to be eligible for that waiver. Next slide. The clerk will then notarize your petition and assign an inspection date if you requested one. The clerk of the HP part will then assign a hearing date and a date by which you must serve these papers. After obtaining the signed order to show cause and petition from the clerk, you must then serve these papers on the respondent and the Department of Housing Preservation and Development and the New York City Corporation Council's office if you are proceeding as a poor person. Check the order to show cause for directions as to how and when the paper must be served. So when you get this form, usually on the bottom, it'll tell you exactly how you should serve these papers. Make sure you don't mail it to an address of the landlord or managing agent that's a PO box. Make sure you have the proper address when you're serving these papers. Next slide, please. Once you have served these papers, you must fill out an affidavit of service. You may also obtain this from the clerk. Your affidavit of service and copies of the return receipts from USPS may be filed with the HP clerk before the court date or when you come to trial at the date of your hearing. And be sure to bring copies of the paperwork with you during this court hearing and any other information that you feel is important to this case. If you have any questions, you can also call the housing court. Their number is 347-404-9201. Ask to speak with a clerk pertaining to any questions that you may have regarding this process. And I'll pass it over to Stefanos on how to go to court, how and when to go to court.
Great, so my name is Stefanos. I'm also a staff attorney at BKA. I've been here for about 1.5 years or so. I did intern here for about 6 months prior, so started right along with ESIS. So I'm going to talk about how to go to court, what to expect, and what happens during an HP trial. Next slide. So if HPD has issued violations, a court will likely direct the landlord to correct them. For Class A violations, they'll have 90 days to correct. For Class B violations, they'll have 30 days to correct. For Class C violations, they'll have 24 hours to correct. If they don't complete the repairs, you could bring the case back to the court's attention. And if they continue not to complete the repairs, fines will most likely be levied against them. It's important to bring all the forms. Actually, I think it's on the next slide. Next slide. So when you first get to court, if the attorney for the landlord has shown up, or if it's just the landlord, it's pretty common practice for them to try to come to a stipulation with you. This is generally good practice for both parties. It'll give you some expectations and it'll clarify on what both parties are expecting. So you could set up access time for repairs and inspection through this. You can figure out how long they would need for the repairs and what conditions exactly need repairs. This will be in writing and the judge will go over it with you to make sure that everything is in line with what the court expects from, as if an attorney was bringing this stipulation. So it's generally good because then you'll avoid going through a trial. This is also a portion where you can discuss rent abatement. Rent abatement isn't really something that's part of an HP proceeding. Normally, the court would likely levy fines against the landlord rather than do a rent abatement. If the landlord were to bring a non-payment proceeding against you, that's when you would be arguing that you've been living with these conditions that have needed repairs and you should be getting a rent abatement. Next slide. So if you were to go to trial, if you weren't able to settle the case and the landlord is fighting against you, one of the big things that we see is that they're going to say that they had no knowledge of the issues in your apartment. You need to bring all the proof you have of informing the landlord of any issues that you've had. So bring texts, emails. If there's no HBD violations listed, make sure to bring proof of the conditions, such as pictures. Generally, it's good to bring pictures anyways, just to show the court what's going on in your apartment. Next slide. So preparing for court, bring all the documents, including proof of service, like Isa said, to your court date. Make sure you bring photographs, any communications with the landlord. Once you get to court, there's really three things that are going to happen on that first day. You're either going to settle, you're either going to get prepared for a trial, which won't happen on that day unless there's, I don't even think it occurs with emergency situations, so I'll just correct it. So you'll either get prepared for trial or the landlord won't show up, or the landlord nor an attorney. And in that case, you'll have a default judgment. And in those circumstances, the judge will explain to you that you'll have to mail that decision by the judge, which they'll give you a copy of, to the landlord. That should be by certified mail, return receipt requested. And that the landlord has a certain amount of time to correct these conditions. Next slide. So if it does come to the situation where the judge either tells the landlord to correct certain things or you come to an agreement, unless otherwise agreed in the agreement, the landlord or their workers have to show up by noon to begin those repairs on the date agreed upon. Generally, you don't need to prepare for anything regarding the repairs. The only circumstance I could really think of is if your apartment's to be painted, you are responsible for moving the furniture away from the walls. You generally, like I said earlier, won't be receiving a rent abatement in the HP proceeding. That's a defense that's used in a non-payment. That being said, if you were to settle the case, settle the HP with the landlord before the conference, they can agree to a rent abatement, and that's possible. You just make your desires known, tell them why you don't want to pay a certain amount of money for that rent, and there's a decent chance that they'll agree to that rent abatement and you won't have to go through any other trial. Next slide. So yeah, that's basically how a trial goes through. Generally, just bring your proof, and the judge and the clerk will guide you on this. They will help you make your case as long as you bring all the information necessary for it. Will, I'm not sure if you want me to talk about how to reach us or...
Sure. Well, I'll jump in here. Yeah, folks, this is our contact information here. You can email us or call us. And also our office is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So thank you, Stefanos. Thank you, everybody, for your time and for the program. So we're going to open it up to questions now. We have a few in the chat already. So if you guys, I'll read them. out for everybody, and then whoever wants to field it, you can just jump in. So the first one we have is if the building does not have a certificate of occupancy, what are the next steps regarding going to HPD or the Department of Buildings? When I asked a lawyer, she said she could get issued a notice to vacate unsafe conditions and be evicted without recourse if we raise our habitability issues. Anybody one of you guys wanna field that?
Can you reset the question?
Yeah, the question is, what are the next steps if you don't have a certificate of occupancy? What are the next steps going to HPD or Department of Buildings?
So I know in my experience where there's no certificate of occupancy, clients are usually not, petitioners or the landlords are not entitled to collect rent if there's no certificate of occupancy. As far as repairs, I would make that known by calling 311. I mean, regarding certificate of occupancy for repairs, I guess I would make that known to 311. But I guess it is important to note that if there's no certificate of occupancy, then that prevents the landlord from collecting rent.
Yeah, I believe you still can bring an HP proceeding. I will verify that, but I don't see why that would stop a tenant from bringing an HP proceeding.
Perfect. Excellent. And then we have a couple other questions from Vanessa here. An existential question: why is this process so arduous for tenants? Why does our society protect landlords' interests above all? Good question, Vanessa. And she also asked, can you speak more to the power of organizing and collectivizing with other tenants? Maybe you guys could talk on that a little bit, the difference it makes to have an organized building with repair issues.
Well, it is difficult to bring forward an HP proceeding, but I would say that this is generally one of the more tenant-friendly measures. Whether or not landlords stick by what the court's saying, I guess, is a harder part. But if you do come as a group and there's building-wide issues, that'll apply a lot more pressure against the landlord to start repairs. If the issues are ongoing throughout the building and the landlord refuses to make any repairs, then they could lose their right to manage the building and lose their profits from the building. In which case, somebody will be appointed to take care of the building until the landlord starts complying with things. So bringing it as a group does strengthen your cause. And again, like Isa said, a group fee is a single fee. It's a single case that you're bringing for everybody. We try to do a lot of group tenant work because it is a strong way of getting things done.
Yeah, there is power in numbers. So the more people that do come forward with that HP action, I guess it goes to the merit of the case and it shows the emergency and the severity of the HP repairs that need to be done.
Awesome. And Denise, any else add on there?
No, I just think what you guys said gets right to the point. There's power in numbers.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. So if anyone else has other questions, you can use the hand raise function on Zoom, and we can unmute you to ask the question verbally, or you can type it into the question and answer box at the bottom. Okay, we have another one here from Joanna asking, good evening. We live at a rent controlled apartment. We have We have mice a lot running during the day. I called 311 last year, but my landlord's not doing any repairs at our very kitchen. Only guy exterminator came once a month for a 3-minute spray of the kitchen, but the mice are still showing. So wondering how to deal with a mice infestation.
Mice infestations are an HPD violation. So really the landlord, if you were to bring an HP proceeding, the landlord would have a certain amount of time to correct the condition. I believe it's a B violation. I'm not 100% sure on that. So they would have about a month to correct the condition. And really they need to hire the exterminator to come more often if that violation is brought against them. I'm assuming this you haven't brought an HP proceeding yet. I don't know how to talk to them, but
Yeah,
if-
Joanna, can we, okay, if we unmute you? Here. Can you hear Joanna? Oh. Looks like you're muted on your end.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Joanna,
Yes.
go ahead.
Oh yeah, we have a problem with my landlord. She say we have a mice a lot during the day. Our kitchen is so old. It's possible I can contact with any lawyers. They can help me do something with that because my landlord she say I pay a little so I can be friendly with the mice. So it's not okay. I have a kids at home.
Yeah, that's not okay. So the best thing to do, you can try to speak to our office and they'll guide you. If they'll try to take the case on, and if they can't for whatever reason, they'll try to guide you on how to do it. And basically the best thing to do is to call 311, have them inspect it. 311 will definitely issue a violation for a rat infestation. And then you could bring that to an HP proceeding where the judge will tell the landlord to correct the condition. Also record any conversation you're having with your landlord. If he's talking to you like that, that also raises a lot of red flags. Sounds like harassment, but at the very least, it's just a willful neglect of the issues that are happening.
Yeah, she always say if I don't like it, and I can move out right now because a lot of different apartment near my house. But she know I pay like rent control. It's on 1,300, so it's. But our kitchen and the bathroom, it's like gross. So, but she say she don't want to do nothing with that.
I believe Denise, this is a rent control department, so I think that you're right. You could file a decrease in service application with DHCR. So they could possibly reduce your rent and at the very least tell the landlord to start making repairs. I'm not sure which one would be quicker. Might be best to try both avenues, but you can find that application online if you look at DHCR's website and look for
DH is okay. I will check.
Yeah, you need to
Thank you
look
so
for a decrease in rent services application.
Okay.
Joanne, this is Denise.
Yes.
If you would like it, I can also put in the chat the contact information for St. Nick.
Oh, yes,
Possibly
yes.
he can also help you do the application. We would just need some basic information from you, but we can connect outside of this space if you would like.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. I was so happy when I see that meeting will be on from my school, PS Story 4. I say maybe that's a sign because I try to find something better way for my kids because I don't know how to fight with my landlord. So.
Well, thank you for your question.
Very helpful.
Yeah, well, glad it's helpful, Joanna. Thank you for your question. I'm so sorry you're dealing with that.
I know.
Also, if you believe that it might be you're not getting any results from the landlord and you think you might do a better job at repairing it yourself, you can also feel free to make the repair cost yourself and then offset any of the repair costs on your rent.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you do that, I would just advise you need to let the landlord know that that's what you're gonna do, that you're gonna call an exterminator to get rid of these mice, and that you're planning on taking this off next month's rent or for however long it needs to be until these mice are gone. You just need
I
to let
have
the landlord know that that's what you're doing, just so he doesn't turn this around on you in the future.
also I have one more question. We was without the fridge over 7 months, and because he say she not buy the new fridge because that's not her apartment. She just rented, so I have to buy it by myself, and I pay for the fridge because she say that's not. She don't have to provide her the fridge if they broken. Is that
That-
true?
They need to fix your refrigerator. They're taking away essential services from you. I agree with Denise that filing something with the HCR and filing something with the court would be great here. I'm really sorry you're going through that. I believe this would amount to harassment more so than just a lack of repairs.
Yeah, I still have a receipt. I buy by myself the fridge. We was without fridge 7 months, so it was so hard. I'm single mom with 2 kids.
Yeah, Joanna, I mean, this sounds like a really big problem. Please take down our number at the end and somebody from
Oh,
our
believe me,
office
it's
will,
a really big problem. It's a huge.
yeah, they'll speak to you about what's going on, what the best plan is, and if we can, we'll take this case for you.
So I have to send the email.
You could give us a call at that number below, 718-487-2300.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I just make a screenshot.
Perfect. And yeah, these are essential services that your landlord's taking away from you. That's not okay. The situation is pretty complicated since you've already bought the fridge, but it sounds like something that you should be able to get some sort of abatement or something back for this, because
I know. She said it's New York City. That's the mice. It's in like with the New York City, the mice. It's normal. I say no, that's normal. They during the day with with kids, with my kids' room. So she almost step in. So it's not okay.
yeah, it's not okay.
Very sorry about that.
Okay, thank
Joanna,
you so much for your help. I hope we can do something. So you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Joanna, yes, please do follow up with both
Yeah,
us
of
and
course.
St. Nick's. And if you have any other question or anybody else have other questions they want to share here in the speaking, or if you want to put it in the chat.
Joanne, can you just confirm you received what I put in the chat regarding your question with my contact info?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? Specific or general about repairs? Feel free to just type it into the chat. Not seeing anything yet. We'll give it one more minute just to make sure in case somebody stepped away from their screen. All right, unless anybody else has a question they want to ask over the Zoom itself or in the chat. Looks like we're good. So Want to say thank you again, Denise, Isis, Stefanos. Thank you all so much for taking the time tonight, answering everybody's questions and walking us through this program. Again, everyone here, you can contact Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A at our email and phone number listed here. You can go to our website. Whatever is the best way for you to contact us, just please don't hesitate. If you have any of the types of problems we've described tonight, or anything that falls in any of our program areas, please do reach out. And St. Nick's Alliance as well is here to help. Make sure to reach out to them if you're having issues, and they can be a great resource as well. But I think, unless last call for any other questions, otherwise I think we're all set. Thank you again, everybody, so much for your time, and thank you all for being here.